So welcome back class. This is the 9th class of NCERT Indian Polity for Foundation Batch Adharshila conducted by Center for Ambition, and we are continuing the third chapter, which is elections and representatives, and this is the second part of the third chapter, and we have already completed the first part in the previous video, and where I have talked about the election systems that are prevalent in India. I have talked about the FPTP system, the PR system, and I also told you the major components of both the system. I told you the differences between these two systems. But here in this lecture, I'll show you a table of differences between the FPTP and PR system, so that you can easily distinguish between these two election systems, and it becomes very clear for you. Okay, you can get a clear picture out of it. So in the previous videos, if you can recall, when I told you about FPTP system, I told you that the entire country is divided into small geographical units which are known as constituencies, and in case of PR system, we imagine the whole country as a single constituencies. Okay. So in case of FPTP, we see that the country is divided into small geographical units, which is called as constituencies. In case of PR, the entire country is considered as a single constituency. In case of FPTP, every constituency elects one representative, whereas more than one representative may be elected from one constituency. So in case of FPTP, when we have divided the country in many constituency, we also expect that every constituency has one representative, and in case of PR system, as the country is a single constituency, then we can have more than one representatives who can be elected from one single constituency. In case of FPTP system, as I told you, that here the voters vote for the candidates, and in case of PR system, the voters vote for the party. A party may get more seats than votes in the legislature in case of FPTP, and in case of PR system, every party gets the seat in the legislature in proportion to the percentage of votes that it gets. Okay. The candidate who wins the election may not get majority of votes, which is 50% plus 1. Whereas in the case of PR system, we see that candidate who wins the election gets the majority of the votes. So what did I tell you? That for example, that a person, for example, we have a party A, who gets 40% of the votes in election. Okay, I am talking about the PR system. We have a party A which gets 40% of the votes in the elections. So what happens that it cannot establish a government in case of PR election system. Okay, why? Because in this case we need a majority of votes in case to establish a government. So what do the party A does? It forms a coalition government. It forms a coalition government, which means that other parties which have received lesser than 50% of the votes in the elections come together and form one government, and now the coalition government is formed and they will now be able to establish the government. So what happens here? The coalition form of coalition government is seen here, and because of coalition government, we see that the government becomes unstable. Okay. The examples of FPTP are UK and India, because in India we have the FPTP system prescribed in the constitution. We also follow PR in some parts of the for example, the elections of president, the election of vice president, the elections of Rajya Sabha, the elections of Vidhan Parishad. When I discussed about it, I told that PR system is applicable in case of the elections of these four posts. Okay. Example of PR is prevalent in Israel and Netherlands. So we have taken the system of PR from Israel. Okay. Moving on to the reservations of constituencies. So when I told you about the FPTP system, I said that we vote for the candidate. Okay. Now if we know the candidate, there could be some favorism that can come among the people. Okay. Now if I know a person, I can hold him accountable for a lot of things. In case of favorism, for example, a candidate A wins certain election from a certain uh, part of the country. For example, candidate A wins election from a certain constituency, then there could be favorism which can result in the disadvantages for the new social groups that wanted to emerge as a party in the as a uh, elected party in the constituency. So there could be a disadvantage for a newly social groups in the country. So what happens to avoid that situation and everybody can get their representation in the country? What we have done, we have provided the facility of reservations in the constituencies. So we have reserved some certain seats for SC and ST candidates, because we want the people from SC and ST candidates to also represent themselves in the country. So we want a proper representation in the country, and for this cause we have uh, done reservations in the constituencies as well. So who will decide how much seats will be allotted to the SC and ST will be decided by an independent body, which is Delimitation Commission. Okay, so Delimitation Commission, if we see, it comes from an act of Parliament. Okay, we see that Parliament, the Union government, makes an act on Delimitation Commission, and then it forms as a independent body. So who appoints the Delimitation Commission is the President of India. The Delimitation Commission works with the collaboration of Election Commission. The purpose of Delimitation Commission is to draw up the boundaries of the constituencies all over the country. Okay, it makes sure that every country gets divided into proportionate constituencies. Okay, the quota for constituencies to be reserved in each state is fixed depending upon the proportion of SC and ST population of the state. So whatever the population of the SC and STs are there in the constituencies, the reservation of seats are in proportion to the population that are there for SCs and ST. Suppose in a constituency we have a great population of the SC people there, then we have more reservation for the SC candidates there. Okay, for example, in one constituency we have higher number of ST people there, then we'll have more reserved seats for the ST candidates there and a lesser for the SC ones, because the population varies, the population differs. Okay, as I told you, if the number of ST people are in a great population, the reserved seats will be in more number. In case of SC, the Delimitation Commission keeps in mind what? It picks constituency which have a higher proportion of SC population. Okay, so it is same that if you have a great population of SCs in the constituencies, then the Delimitation Commission ensures that the reservation of seats are accordingly given to the SC people. Okay, so our constitution provides for the reservation of seats only in the Lok Sabha and the state legislative assemblies. There is no reservation for the Rajya Sabha in case of SC and ST. Okay, we can only see the reservations for SC and ST in the Lok Sabhas and the state legislative assemblies. There is no reservation for SC and ST in the Rajya Sabha. See, here it is written that reservation is only for Lok Sabha and state legislative assembly, but there is no reservation for Rajya Sabha in case of SCs and STs. Okay. The provision was initially meant for 10 years. Okay. The provision was initially came up for the 10 years, but as a result of successive constitutional amendments, it is now also prevalent in the constitution. Now also we have the provision of reservation in the seats of Lok Sabha and state legislative assemblies. Okay. The parliament can further extend it once the period of reservation expires. So once 10 years is expired, the period of 10 years expires, the parliament can extend it to the next 10 years, whatever is, if the requirement is there. Okay, now when we see that in the time of British system, okay, separate electorate came into the being. Now the question comes, it is a major question that is asked, or we can see that there is a lot of confusion when we talk about separate electorate and reservations. So what is the difference? If I ask you the difference between separate electorate and the reservations, what is the difference and why we have chosen reservation on separate electorate? So when we come to separate electorate, it was a concept that, for example, one candidate is from SC category, so if the candidate is SC category, then the people who will vote this candidate will be from the same category. Okay, this is separate electorate. For example, if the candidate is Muslim, then the voters will be of Muslim community. In case of reservation, the candidate can be from SC, ST or from any other religion. It can be a Muslim, it can be a Sikh, but the voter, when we come to the voters could be everyone. Okay. The separate electorate limits the voters as it wants that the voter should be of the same category that the category of candidate. But in case of reservations, we see in case of reservations, the voters could be from any background, the voters could be of any religion when they vote. So we have taken the concept of reservations, not the concept of separate electorate. Okay. So free and fair elections, what does it mean? It means that when I started the chapter, I said that when I see India as the democratic one, the very first thing that comes into my mind are the elections. Okay. Now elections are the most visible form of a democracy. So what is the true test of a nation? What is the true test of an election system? The true test of an election system is to make sure that the system that is adopted in a country is free and fair. Because I told you, whatever a country's election system is adopted, the outcomes will be influenced. Okay, the outcomes can be either way. So a true test of an election system is the ability to ensure a free and fair electoral process. So the election system of a country should ensure that there should be a free and fair elections in the country. Okay, it is the duty of the election system that the elections should be free and fair. If we want democracy to be translated into reality on the ground, it is important for the election system to be impartial and transparent. What do I mean by free and fair? I mean that the election system should be impartial and transparent. Okay, there should be no discrimination on any grounds, on the grounds of religion, on the grounds of race, on the ground of creed. Okay, there should be no discrimination. It should be impartial, it should be transparent. The system of election must also allow the aspiration of voters to find legitimate expression through the electoral result. So the results should be also fair. There should be no hamperness in the results, so that the voters should have a complete faith in the election system. They should find a legitimate expressions through the electoral results. So universal adult franchise, I have also discussed about it in the second chapter, which is rights in the Indian Constitution, and I have discussed about it. So what is universal adult franchise? It is that all the adult citizens are eligible to vote and to contest elections. Okay, they can elect a political party so that they can form the government. Okay, it is a right of every adult citizen to vote to a political party, to a particular political party, which will turn into the government and they can form the government. Okay. So we have seen democratic elections require that all adult citizens of the country must be eligible to vote in the elections. They must be eligible to vote in the elections. So what is the age of universal adult suffrage in India now? It is 18, but in 1981, till 1981 we had 21 age as the adult Indian citizen. It meant that if a citizen has turned 21, then only he or she is eligible to vote in the elections. Okay. So we have seen that citizens had to fight lot of battles in other countries, and women had to also fight a lot against the government, against the system, so that they can get the right to vote. So the framers of the Indian Constitution have seen this and learned their lessons, so that they have guaranteed the universal adult franchise itself in the constitution. And till 1981 it was the age 21, where an adult meant an adult Indian citizen uh, who can choose the political party, who can contest an election, who is eligible to vote. But after the 61 Constitutional Amendment Act 1989, the eligibility is reduced to the age of 18. Okay. The universal adult franchise, it ensures that all citizens are able to participate in the process of selecting their representatives. So what does a adult franchise do? It enables the adult citizens to choose their representatives so that their government could be chosen. Okay. So the principle of equality and non-discrimination that we have studied in second chapter, when I was discussing about the principle of equality and non-discrimination, I also discussed about universal adult franchise. Not that in detail, but I just mentioned the word and gave you the definition of it. So it was a discussion when the universal adult franchise came into the constitution. It was a discussion that if it's right that we give this adult franchise to everybody, in spite that they do not have the required education qualification, how will they know what is right and what is wrong for the country if they do not have certain education qualifications? So it was a debate there then, that is it mindful to give everybody the equal right of choosing the government, of choosing the representative, even though they are not that much qualified. So it was, the discussion had a lot of controversies as well, but it came as a result that it is fine to give universal adult franchise. It is fine to give everybody the right to contest elections, the right to choose the government, the right to choose their representatives, because as we consider a citizen as an adult citizen, and we have prescribed the age here, so whenever the person has reached to the eligibility age, the person has automatically the sense of choosing what is right and what is wrong for them. So hence they are very much eligible to also choose their representative for the democratic government also. So I think you are very clear with the universal adult franchise now. Moving on to the right to contest. So all citizens have the right to stand for the elections. They can become the representatives of the people. So it is right for every adult individual to contest elections. Anyone can be the representative of the people, but the age criteria is very different. For example, in the elections of Lok Sabha, the age must be 25 years of you have to be 25 years of 25 years old, so that you can contest in elections in the Lok Sabha. In case of Rajya Sabha, the age goes to 30. In case of President, the age goes to 35. So there are minimum requirements for the age criteria in case you are contesting an election for different positions. Okay, so that is a legal provisions that you have to see. There are some restrictions also. For instance, there is a legal provision that a person who has undergone imprisonment for 2 or more years for some offence is disqualified from contesting elections. So it is to make the elections fair procedure. It is meant that every person in the country should get a fair representative. It is also meant that the representatives we have chosen has not conducted an offence ठीक है. So what we have done, there is a legal provision in the constitution that if a person have undergone an imprisonment for 2 or more years for some offence, then he will be disqualified from contesting the elections. So this we have to make sure. And secondly, there are no restrictions of income, education, class or gender on the right to contest. Matlab you can contest an election in spite of your income, education, class or gender. Okay. In the sense, our system of election is open to all. So it is open for all. You can be the representatives of the people, but you have to also see the minimum requirement age for certain posts of the elections. For example, the Lok Sabha we have seen, we have the age of 25, the Rajya Sabha has the age of 30, the president has the age of 35. And also, what is the restrictions over here? The restriction is that there should be no undergone imprisonment for 2 or more years on the contestant, because then he will be disqualified for contesting the elections. Secondly, there should be no discrimination on the grounds of income, education, gender and class. Okay, so there will be no discrimination when you will be standing for contesting the elections. So coming on to an independent election commission, when I was discussing, when I started the chapter, I said that we have an independent body, election commission, which is responsible for our union elections and our state elections. So the independent election system, so there are several efforts made to ensure free and fair election system. So what does election commission do? It makes sure that the elections held in the country are free and fair. It ensures the free and fair election systems and the procedures are free and fair. So it supervises that the elections are conducted in a free and fair procedures, in a free and fair manner. Okay, the most important among these is the creation of an independent election commission. So the creation of an independent election commission is important. Why? Because it supervises and it conducts the elections. It conducts and it supervises the elections, and it ensures that the elections in the system, election in the country, are free and fair. The Article 324 in the Indian Constitution provides for an independent election commission for the superintendence and direction and control of the electoral roll and conduct of the elections in India. Okay, so the Article 324 of the Indian Constitution makes sure it provides for an independent election commission for the superintendence and direction and control of the electoral roll and conduct of the elections. So election commission is responsible for supervision of the elections that are going on in the country. What it does, it also directs, it controls the whole election procedure, it controls the electoral roll, so that there will be free and fair elections. It is mentioned in Article 324. So we have seen that independence of election commission is mentioned in Article 324. It ensures free and fair system. It ensures free and fair elections. Okay, and it supervises, it conducts, it puts superintendence in the procedure of elections. It sees the direction, it sees the control of the electoral roll and conducts the elections in the system. So the whole responsibility of elections for union government and state government goes to the election commissions. Okay. So these words in the constitution are very important. That's why I'm highlighting it again and again, because these words that I'm using, superintendence, direction, control, conduct and supervise, are very important in the constitution, because they give election commission a decisive role in the virtually everything to do with the elections. So whatever the roles that are connected with the elections, the election commission gets a power from these words. Okay. These words make the election commission very important. It shows the importance of the election commission, why it is important. Okay. The Supreme Court has agreed with the interpretation of the constitution to assist the election commission of India as to assist the Election Commission of India, there is a chief electoral officer in every state. So there we have a chief electoral officer in every state in case to assist the Election Commissioner of India. The election commissioner is not responsible for the conduct of the local body elections. So as I told you, as I am repeating again and again, that election commissioner is responsible for the elections for only the union government and the state government. It does not conduct elections for the local body elections. Next, we come on to the composition of Election Commission of India. So we see that Election Commission of India can either be a single member body or it can be a multi-member body. Till 1989, the Election Commission was a single member body. It means that there was only one person in the Election Commission. Okay. So until 1989, we had Election Commission which was only a single member body. Then before the 1918 general elections, then there was general elections, and then the Election Commission was made as a multi-member body. So it was single member first, then it became multi-member. Okay. Soon after the elections, the commission reverted to its single member status. So it again came back to as a single member body. Okay. So initially it was single member body, then it came to as multi-member body, then it reverted back as a single member body again. Then after okay, we were here, right? We reverted to its single member status. Then in 1993, the two election commissioners were once again appointed and the commission became a multi-member again. So it was made multi-member again. So it was single member, then multi-member, then single member, and then now till now date we have a multi-member body, which means that we have three member body. The two commissioners, we see the two election commissioners were appointed, and when we have chief election commissioner. Okay, so we have three member body now and has remained multi-member since then. So till now also we have a multi-member body. Initially there were many apprehensions about the multi-member commission. So initially what we had when the commission was multi-member commission, when we had commissioners, election commissioners as well as chief election commissioners, so there was a sharp difference of opinion between the chief election commissioner and the other commissioners who had how much power. So there was a sharp difference between the chief election commissioner and the election commissioner before. Okay, before when we had multi-member body. Okay. So what we see that now the chief election commissioner that we have and the election commissioner, the two election commissioners that we have, which make the multi-body election commissioner as a multi-member body. Okay, the three people that we have, the chief election commissioner and the two election commissioner, they have equal powers to take all the decision relating to the election as a collective body. So they have equal power amongst themselves, and nobody has more power than the other election commissioner. So these three have equal powers when it comes to the taking all the decisions relating to an elections. Okay, so they work as a collective body, and earlier we saw that chief election commissioner has a more power than the other two election commissioners. There was a sharp difference between the opinions of the CEC and ECs. But when we see the now present scenario, what we see that the CEC and the other two ECs have same power in regard to the decisions that are made on the elections. Okay. They are appointed by the President of India on the advice of Council of Ministers. Okay. There is a possible for a ruling party to appoint a partisan person to the commission who might favor them. So it is a debate that as the head of the ruling party is also there in appointing the election commissioner. So there might be a favorism that we see in the election commission, which is a debate. Okay. The constitution ensures the security and the tenure of CEC and election commissioners. They are appointed for a term of 6 years or the age of 65, whichever happens first. Okay, whichever is earlier. Okay, if your term of 6 years expires soon, then your age 65, then you turn age 65, then also your tenure can be ended. And if you become 65 earlier than the end of your 6-year term, then also your tenure can be expired. Okay. The CEC can be removed before the expiry of the term also. So it is not mandatory that only when there is expiry of term, only then the CEC will be removed. It can be removed before the expiry of the term as well by the president, and if both the houses of the parliament make such a recommendation with a special majority. Okay, so now we see that the removal of the CEC is same as the removal of Supreme Court judges. Okay, so what happens in the removal of Supreme Court judges, that the both the houses of the parliament gives a special majority. Okay, it recommends with a special majority a removal of a judge. So it is same as the removal of the chief election commissioner. Okay, it can be removed by the president when both the houses of the parliament recommends with a special majority. When there is a special majority by both the houses of parliament, the president can remove it. So this is done to ensure that a ruling party cannot remove a CEC who refuses to favor it in elections. So what we have seen that there was a debate that in appointing of the election commission there could be favorism, because the ruling party is also there in appointing the election commissioners. Okay, so there could be a little favorism. So the procedure of removal of CEC is made that hard. Why? Because if in case CEC refuses to do something in the favor of the ruling party, then it is very difficult for the ruling party to remove him. Okay, so it makes a security of tenure is given to the CEC in case of removal of the chief election commissioner. The election commissioners can be removed by the President of India. So here we talk about CEC. The procedure for removal of the chief election commissioner is similar to the Supreme Court judges. It is made difficult because both the houses of the parliament have to give a recommendation to the president by special majority, but the election commissioner, the two election commissioners that we have, can be removed by if only the chief election commissioner conveys it that I want them to be removed. So they can be easily removed by the President of India. Next, we see the functions and powers of the election commissioner. What are the functions and power? We have seen that the election commission is an independent body, and also it ensures that free and fair elections should be contested in the country. We see that whatever the election system that we have appointed in India should be in a free and fair manner, should be conducted. The elections conducted in India for union government and the state government should be conducted in a free and fair manner. The independent election body election commission does not hold the elections for local bodies. Okay, that we see the local government is not under election commission of India. So election commission has a wide range of functions. Okay, first function, it supervises the preparation of up-to-date voters list. So it has to update the voters list to the present time. Okay, it has to update the voters list. It has to delete the names of the voters which are not here. For example, if a person has expired in some dates, so they have to delete the name of the voter. Okay, so they have to prepare the voter list up to date and update it to till now, the present time. Okay, it makes every effort to ensure that voter list is free and free of errors like non-existence of name and of registered voters, existence of names of those who are non-eligible, and non-existence. So it makes that a person who has completed the age of 18, so their names should also be there in the voters list, and who are not there, for example, they are non-existent now, they have expired, so their name should be removed. So it makes the list up to date. Okay. It also determines the timing of the election and prepares the election schedule. So it also deals with the timing. It also tells you the date when the election is elections have to be scheduled. ठीक है. The election schedule includes the notification of elections. It releases the notification of the elections. It decides the date from which the nominations can be filed, the last date for filing nominations. So in case of filing nominations, in case of filing, in case of deciding the date, in case of releasing the notifications for the elections, who is responsible? The Election Commission of India. The last date of scrutiny is decided by Election Commission of India. The last date of withdrawal, date of polling and date of counting and declaration of results, all these are decided by the Election Commission of India. This entire process, the Election Commission has the power to take decisions and ensure the free and fair poll. So the Election Commission has to ensure that there should be free and fair poll. So what it can do, it has the total control in case to ensure that there is free and fair polling. Okay, it can postpone and cancel the election of the entire country or a specific state or constituency on the ground that the atmosphere is vitiated and therefore a free and fair elections may not be conducted. Okay, so it is possible for Election Commission to also cancel, to also postpone the voting, to postpone the elections in the country, in any particular state, in any constituency, if it sees that the atmosphere of the particular place is not suitable for the elections. The Commission also implements model code of conduct for parties and candidates. Okay, and it can also order for a repoll in case if it sees that any model code of conduct is not implemented as it should be, or if there is an infringement in the procedure of an election, that then it can also order for a repoll in a specific constituencies. Okay, it can also order for recount of the votes when it feels the counting process has not been fully fair and just. So if the Election Commission sees that if there is an infringement, if there is an hamperness in the counting of the votes, if there is misconduct in the election procedure, then it can order a repoll, it can order for recount of the votes as well. It also gives the political parties it allows symbols for each of the political parties as well. So we have seen that Election Commission has a wide range of functions here, okay, and it makes sure that every function that is given to the Election Commission of India is fully done and it is free and fair in the manner, it should be just in the manner. So it makes sure that the process of election is completely fair and free. During the election process, the administrative officers of the state and central governments are assigned election related duties. In this respect, the Election Commission has full control over them. So we see that administrative officers also are assigned, the state and central government officers are also assigned for the duties of elections. Okay, and the Election Commission has a full control over them as well. They see that if the full procedure is maintained or not, if the conduct of the elections is going well or not. The EC can transfer the officers, or to stop their transfers, it can take action against them for failing to act in a non-partisan manner. So in case their work does not align with the work that is given by the code that is given by the Election Commission, then it can also transfer the officer, or it can stop their transfers also. Over the years, the Election Commission of India has emerged as an independent authority which has asserted its power to ensure fairness in the election process. So we have seen the Election Commission has also evolved, as we have seen the judiciary, that it has evolved from A.K. Gopalan to Menka case. So we have also seen that Election Commission of India has also evolved, okay, and it also has asserted its power in case of ensuring fairness in the election process. Okay. It has acted in an impartial and unbiased manner in order to protect the sanctity of the electoral process. So, in case that the election should be impartial, transparent, it has maintained the sanctity of the electoral process so that people believe in the election system of India, people does not, the trust is not broken on the democracy of India. The people should have full trust on the election system of the India. So what is needed? It is needed that the election commission has to be independent, and it has to make sure that that free and fair election, the election should be impartial, the elections should be transparent and in unbiased manner, so that the sanctity of the electoral process should be intact. The record of Election Commission also shows that every improvement of the functioning of the institution does not require a legal or constitutional change. So, Election Commission itself makes laws, implements policies which improve the functioning of uh, the system. So we see that a legal change or a constitutional change is not needed when you have an independent and impartial election commission. It makes laws, it implements the main, as I said, it implements its functions that are seen here. Okay, if it implements its functions, if it implements the procedure for election in a free and fair manner, then we do not need a legal or constitutional change to happen in the constitution. The election commission alone can only make sure that everything is just in nature. The Election Commission, political parties and various independent groups and many scholars have come up with the proposal of electoral reform. So we have seen that as the evolution of Election Commission is there, there is also a evolution in the electoral reforms. For example, earlier we had secret ballot papers, but now we have EVMs. Okay, so we are also evolving by the elections that are conducted in India. So there are various electoral reforms. Okay, various electoral reforms are also uh, implemented in India, because we see that in our election system, as it is very fair and free in nature, we also have some limits. Okay, we have some flaws in it as well. Okay, so there are some electoral reforms that what does electoral reform means? It means that there should be some changes in order to make it more flexible in nature. For example, some of the scholars say that it should be changed, the election system should be changed from FPTP to some variant of the PR system. Matlab we should change the FPTP system also, and we should add some variant of PR system also. So that could make the election process a better one. So these are the some electoral reforms which are suggestions for from political parties or some independent groups or scholars. Some of the electoral reforms we have implemented in our country, like EVM, I have given an example. So what will the electoral reforms do? It would ensure that parties get seats as far as possible in the proportion of the votes they get. So the seats could be allotted to the parties in proportion to their votes. There should be a special provision to ensure that at least 1/3 women are elected to the parliament and assemblies. So the reservation of SC/ST is already there. The reservation for women, the 1/3 reservation for women is also a debate that is going on. Okay, after the completion of the census 2027, we'll have a delimitation commission, and then we can implement the 1/3 reservation of women in the parliament and assemblies. There should be a stricter provision to control the role of money in electoral politics. So the role of money in the political party should be also be controlled by the election commissioner. The election commissioner should also put a restrictions on the expenditure of the money they can do during the elections. Okay, the elections expenses should be paid by the government out of a special fund. So as it will be taken out by a special fund, then the expenses would be limited. Okay, so there is a suggestion of stricter provision for expenses during the elections. The candidate with criminal cases should be barred from contesting elections even if their appeal is pending before a court. Even if the appeal is pending in the court, they should be barred from contesting elections. Earlier we have seen that if a person has an imprisonment of 2 and more years, it will be barred from contesting elections. But here the suggestion is that even if the case is pending, even if their appeal is pending, they should be barred from contesting the elections. There should be a complete ban on the use of caste and religion appeals in the campaign. There should be no religious politics, and there should be no caste politics in the country. And the caste, the religion should not be used as a tool to get more votes from the people. So there should be complete ban on the usage of caste and the usage of religion during the election campaigns. There should be a law to regulate the functions of political party and to ensure that they function in a transparent and democratic manner. So there should be a specific law to regulate the functioning of the political parties. They should be working in a more democratic manner, in a more transparent manner. So we have seen some electoral reforms. For example, we have seen EVMs, which are electric voting machines. Okay, we have seen VVPATs. Okay, introduction of VVPATs also. Okay, and what else we have seen? We have seen the option of nota as well. Okay, so we have seen these electoral reforms as well in the elections, which have made them a very significant one. Okay, here you can earlier we had secret ballot paper. Earlier we used to put a stamp on the paper and we have to choose the political party. Now we have EVMs. Our votes are registered in an electric machines. Now we have VVPATs. In VVPATs, what happened that we get the receipt of whoever we have voted, whoever political party, whichever political party we have voted, we'll get a receipt of it, so that we can match that whatever the candidate, whatever the political party that we have voted for is same as we have voted for it. Okay, nota is another option that is given for the voters, that if the following members, the following parties, if I do not go with the following political parties that are here, I do not want to elect any of the following political parties mentioned here, then I can choose the option of nota, which means none of the above. I do not will to choose any of the political parties that are mentioned over here. Okay, so these are the electoral reforms, some of the electoral reforms that are in our. Okay, so that's it then. We have completed the third chapter, which is elections and representatives, and we'll cover the next chapter, which is executive, I think, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.